Hi, guys. I'm Nina,
I'm Jamie.
I'm Ethan.
and we are Bloody Essentials. We just want to thank everybody who's already supported the podcast. It really means a lot to us, and it helps us out a lot. Hey, guys. Doing a quick little update on the Patreon. Since recording this episode, we actually have had 2 new Patreon members. So we just want to give a special shout out, make sure that everybody feels included, because we appreciate every single one of you. So shout out to Swift, Rick Paulton, and David Green. Guys, thank you so much for all that you do for us. It really means a lot to have your support, and we're really happy that you're enjoying the podcast. All right. Tonight we are getting into a fun movie that was actually recommended by our producer, Jeremy. Yeah, so it is called Curse of the Sin Eater. It is on Tubi, right, guys?
Yes, I think it was TB.
Yes, yeah.
It's
I think it was on
Prime.
several.
It's also on Prime.
That's right. I watched it on Prime. Fewer
maybe
ads.
I watched it on Prime too. Okay.
Yeah.
Somewhere
So
out there.
I assume this was everybody's first time watching this movie.
Yes, it's pretty new, right? Is it this year? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, brand new. So we won't talk about what we thought just yet, but it was a brand new watch for all of us, which is exciting, right?
Definitely.
Always exciting. I had to double check too because it's brand new, and I hadn't heard about it before, so I had to cross reference to make sure that it was the right movie. I'm like, okay, it's 2024. I read the description. I'm like, this is the one. Okay.
Yeah. I've had it on my queue for probably 3 or 4 months, and I was like, oh, I gotta watch it. I gotta watch that. But of course, life's life, so you get busy, and then if I do have any downtime, I'm usually doing homework for the podcast, so I'm watching one of those movies, and I'm like, okay. So when he recommended it, I was like, all right, awesome, cool. I want to see it.
It was meant to be, man.
That's it.
Yes, it had to happen.
You just weren't meant to watch it until this week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, let's get into plot points, Jamie.
Okay, guys. All right. So our movie kicks off with kind of a bummer, right? So movie kicks off with a male character and his mom commits suicide. So just right off the bat there, kind of a bummer, guys. But then we have 3 years later, and Rick wakes up. That is our guy. We have some nice walking around shots, some nice train shots. I like me some cinematography where people are going from one place to the other. So, that was nice. But Rick is a laborer, so he's working at this fancy mansion kind of place. He's late the first day, which isn't great, but the foreman still lets him work, which is good. Okay.
And can I say how cool I thought this was, that it is actually set in Chicago?
Yes. There were so many things that they mentioned. I was like, oh, Lincoln Park, Gold Coast, all these things. I'm like, I know where that is.
Right. He was getting on the train. I was like, oh, I've been on that train. I'm like, oh, I know that suburb. Oh, wait a minute.
I'm amazed you can still recognize the trains, even though it's been, 40 years since you've been on one?
Oh.
It's not been quite 40 years, but...
I even was like, I'm pretty sure that this is Chicago, guys. I'm pretty sure we are in Chicago right now. Yes. And that was confirmed for me. But that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
It was. And then I would forget that it took place in Chicago, and they'd be like, in Chicago. I'm like, I know that place.
I know that city. So we learned that, Rick is a little bit down on his luck. He's living with his friend Jeremy. He's doing this kind of gig work, doing the laboring. So, he's a little down on his luck at the minute. But he's working at the site, and he ends up hurting himself, stabbing himself. First of all, I gotta say, I feel like he was not prepared for his day of work because he was late and he also hurt himself pretty bad.
Yeah. But it's very easy to do in that kind of work.
It is very easy to do. But as a contractor myself, when he came in and he was 45 minutes late,
they would not have let him.
No.
No.
Go. Even when the other guy was like, we're going to need him to make it. Nope.
No,
they wouldn't have.
Come back tomorrow.
Yeah. For sure. My dad did that kind of work too. They would not have tolerated that.
If you got the chance to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For real.
Not a great first impression there.
Not at all. As a boss.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So anyway, he hurts himself, and there is this kind of like strange lady worker there. She's all in her suit. She's very like strict, very like, stoic. He's like asking if he can get some help for this. She's like, I don't know about that, but she begrudgingly allows him to come into the mansion to tend his wound. While he's in this mansion, Rick sees a money clip sitting there after he cleans himself up, goes for it, and he takes like $20 from it. Even though there's a lot more in the clip, he takes like $20. There happens to be a man sitting in the room who sees everything. So they all have this sit down talk, and he kind of asks, why didn't you take the whole thing? He explains, I think he missed his bus or something on the way to get there, yada yada. And the man says basically, all right, I'm going to give you the rest of the clip, consider it in advance, you're not fired. So, yeah.
Which would never have happened in a real world situation. They would have fired him on the spot.
I was going to say...
Or he would have got shot.
Well, yeah.
I was going to say, I'm kind of suspicious already because, like, man, he's just messed up left and right on this gig, and, like, no consequences really, just rewards for that.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So next we go to Jeremy and Rick. That's his roommate who he's living with. They just have this little talk, which I just wanted to mention because they're kind of talking about what they would hypothetically do with a lot of money.
I think it's very interesting what Rick says. And he's like, I just go out, get a nice drink, have a nice place to live in Lincoln Park or whatever. And he's like, that's when you know you've made it, when you can afford a nice meal and a nice apartment. I'm like, felt, dude. Feels so bad.
I feel that. Yeah, I think he said he would get like a $500 meal or something like that.
Which is absurd. But
yes, but still, yeah. Okay. So, Rick returns to the job. He's still got his job, of course. And old man Drayton, the man who gave him the money clip, invites him to come up for lunch. And he has like this crazy feast before him too, Mr. Drayton or Drayton, whatever his name is, just tons of food. And basically he explains to him that he's dying. He has no heirs or anything like that. And he starts talking a little bit about religion too. And he mentions loopholes, that he's interested in the loopholes.
Right.
Okay. Keep that in mind, guys. Okay. And then he propositions Rick with something kind of strange. He basically says he will give him everything in the mansion, all his wealth, all his cars, the building itself, if he will eat an entire meal off of his dead body.
And right there, time to say this to him. Later, Drayton, I gotta go.
You cray.
Right? Crazy old bastard, I got to leave.
Yeah, quite a proposition.
Right?
Rick is unsure. He's confused. Why me? And like, what? So absolutely no for you guys. You would be like, nope, I don't need to hear anymore. Not interested. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna have to probably. I would have went with no. Now that I've seen the movie, I know the loophole.
I'm not gonna say
I do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I would probably be a little tempted because it sounds so simple. But yeah,
because you're like, that's if I can manage to get through that. It's just a one-time thing, right? For all these riches, like obviously it sounds too good to, I guess not really even too good to be true. It's not really good. It's a weird proposition, but I think about it maybe a little bit.
It's a minor ick moment for a lifetime of comfort. So
my fat ass just wants to know what I'm gonna have to eat.
I'm not gonna lie, that was my question too. I was like, what's the food gonna be like?
I'm like, so is it like a gourmet dinner? Can I have like a greasy cheeseburger? What's up?
Yeah.
Right.
How much food are we talking?
Is it dealer's pick? Can I pick what I want? Or dealer's choice here?
That would probably weigh into my decision. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
I know. What's on the menu exactly?
Right. Is
I'll
it
get back
more
to
stuff to
you.
be icky, or is it something that can mask the smell of the decomposing body
person.
underneath this food? So
Yes. Anyway, we learned that, Drayton has chosen him because he was in need, and that's what he was looking for, right? Was somebody who was in need. Okay. So, basically he kind of caves and is like, sounds like he's going to do it. Anyway, then we go back to Rick, and he's at a party. He sees his ex, Tanya, I think is her name.
Yep.
Gets into a little fight with his friend Jeremy. So there's a little bit of drama there, with the girl and everything.
yeah, Jeremy's crushing on his girl, or his former girl. They're not together anymore.
Yeah, which is kind of like, oh, that's kind of not cool though, dude. If you know that's the ex, like, come on, friend code, like,
not cool at all.
That definitely crosses a line. Yeah.
Big time. And they live together. Like, talk about awkward. Come on, man.
Yeah. Well, Jer was kind of a dick anyway. So
yeah, he is.
Well, he gets it.
Yeah, he does.
Yes. Okay, so we see a little bit like Rick is calling around different places, trying to maybe find some opportunities for work. He's got to pay rent to Jeremy. He's trying to figure this all out, but he's not getting like anywhere with that. And then there's a mysterious knock on the door, and it's this guy, and he's all dressed up in a suit and everything, and he's like, "Oh, we need you, old man Drayton. Gotta go take care of that." And Jeremy's like, "What?" And then he's like, "Here's your outfit," and he gets into a tuxedo, and Jeremy's like, "What?" And so he, gets ready to go with this guy off to, the mansion where Drayton has apparently died. He's asking, what happened. The guy won't tell him. Yeah. Which is ominous, right?
Right.
He says he's not allowed to discuss it.
Right.
Yeah. Once he gets to the mansion, our lady Antoinette. Okay. So once he arrives at the mansion, Antoinette lays out this whole contract for him and an NDA. He has to sign a non-disclosure agreement here. And we learn that he has got to eat every single crumb if he wants to, inherit all of this stuff. Right. He walks into the room. There's candles lit everywhere. And we have Drayton's dead body on the table. And we have a very long sequence of dish after dish of food coming out, being placed on top of the body. He's got to eat it all, And I gotta say, I don't get upset by movies like horror movies too much, but I do get icked out if there's like a lot of food, like food horror, I guess.
Same.
Yeah. Oh, and he's like retching at points, and it's like, no.
Well, whatever
it went on a long time.
Whatever the second course was, the thing that looked like. The only thing I can think of is like, how they used to have Jello molds.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It just looked like a Jello mold full of like
meat pate.
Yeah, like cat food and puke, and it was nasty.
that probably would have done it for me. I'd be like, no.
I don't think I could get through it. There's just so much food too. And at one point, like they're like gathering up all the crumbs and the like sauce that he didn't eat, put it in a cup, and they pour that directly on the guy. And he has to
no.
No. Ooh, okay. But he does it. He gets through all the food and all the grossness, and then he has to read some words out loud. And that's like, if we didn't already know by this point, like, yeah, it's like, you're kind of paying a big fee here for all of this wealth and everything. Okay, man? Careful
bigger fee than he realizes.
Right.
Sure.
I just wanted to slap him and be like, have you never seen a horror movie?
He doesn't know he's in one yet.
Please, no incantation of any kind, because you're summoning something that you don't need to summon. Just knock it off.
Yeah, I know. I was like, listen to the words. Yes, listen to
you
the
don't
words
know what they mean.
From your mouth.
Right?
Yes, you don't know what they mean. You don't know what you're saying. Stop it.
Nope.
Yeah. Granted, he was probably in like a horrible like food coma at that point and feeling so sick. I'm gonna give him a little benefit of the doubt, maybe. Sure. And be like, he's just eating like, I don't know, like spend an hour eating like ton of food off an old dead man's body. Maybe he's not thinking straight. I don't know.
Yeah, he was probably like, oh, just one more thing and then I'm done. I can be done now. Yeah.
Exactly. So he goes to sleep, he dreams, and he wakes up in his mansion. His initials are on the money clip. He's kind of chucking things out in his new digs. This lady, Antoinette or whatever.
Yeah.
Antoinette, she's basically like, what do you want to do? This is all yours. Rich people don't drive, and let's redecorate. So he's taking all of that stuff in. Okay. Rick goes back to Jeremy to give him some money for rent and basically say, all right, don't ask too many questions. I got another situation that I'm going to be moving into and everything.
What do you think Jeremy's thinking at this point? Like, you found yourself a sugar daddy? Like,
that's exactly what I would think.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd be like, so you're doing some old man.
Yeah. You're a live-in play toy.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Okay. So, he basically starts to kind of enjoy the mansion life and his wealth and everything a little bit. I do like the scene where he goes to the club to buy the pricey bottles of alcohol.
Yeah.
That made me chuckle a lot.
Definitely.
Me too. Because you got the guys next to him who punks him, he's like, oh, I know what it is that you need. And it's beer, like really, really cheap beer.
PBR.
It's PBR? Okay.
It's like the biggest insult you could give to anyone.
Oh, no, it was the Chicago beer. He gave him
it was Old Style.
It was Old Style. Okay.
Old Style is probably better than whatever he got.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love
Chicago. Yeah, I was going to say, actually, it wasn't that bad then. I would have taken that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is an insult to him because he's like, and he's like, well, I'm going to buy 2 of them then. So, sucker,
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it when he just put the black card down and kind of slid it over to him.
Yeah.
And then the guy was like, are you sure you want it? And he was like, and he just slid the card further over.
Yep.
You know I do.
One for me and one for this dude too. So
yes. Okay. So, he's back at his mansion, checking things out, a little inebriated, and that's when we get our first kind of like dead person. We get this dead, bloody woman who shows up and kind of grabs him and freaks him out. Okay.
Very scary. The ghosts in this movie reminded me of 13 Ghosts.
Yes.
I was just
that kind of vibe. Yeah.
Yep.
Very
Totally.
fun. Yeah.
Totally. So, he asks his staff about this woman, what's up with that and everything. And that's when if we hadn't already figured it out, that's when we get a little bit more info about Drayton. And he was really interested in figuring out how to kind of escape his fate. And going back to those loopholes that he was so interested in. Yes. And that's when Rick, picks up this book and reads the passage about the Sin Eater. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, that's me. When I ate that food and said those words, I was actually taking on that guy's sins.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that he had like a clean, no sins, no hell, I think is what they say.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There's a lot of sin that he takes on for this. Okay. So yeah. Now he's starting to kind of realize his situation here. Okay. And he heads to the church because he's like, I need some absolution. I need to confess to this. I need to get this off of me. And he's like, I don't even know what to confess to because I don't know what I did.
Yeah. Which is hilarious, that scene. Like, I need to confess, I did something very bad, but I don't remember or don't know anything about what I did. He's like, well, homie.
Well, I'm gonna need you to think on that, and
I'm gonna need you to come back when you realize what it is that you did.
Yeah. Then we can start talking, perhaps. Okay. All right. So he heads back to the mansion. He's trying to get more information on what old man Drayton did to this dead woman. Our girl gives him the case file, essentially, some recordings, some Polaroids, all of the stuff here in a case file. And it turns out Drayton's wife cheated, and, he's like, I didn't do it. But apparently he did it. So, back to the church with Rick, because now he knows what he can confess to.
Right.
And he proceeds to do that. He proceeds to confess to the crime as though he did it because it is like kind of his now. So yeah. And
I have a question about this.
I do.
Ethan, you probably might be able to help with that.
Sure.
When you confess to something like this, where you've actually hurt somebody,
Okay.
the priest would have to tell the authorities, right?
Absolutely not.
Really?
No, if you go to a clergyman, whether it's a priest, a pastor, whatever, you have confidentiality. It's like a lawyer. If you go to them and you say, I'm here for counseling or I'm here for absolution or whatever, not just talking to them, and you say, here, I need to confess this, blah, blah, blah. They should say, okay, let's encourage you to go turn yourself in, but they cannot.
They can't turn you in. Yeah.
They're not supposed to.
Okay.
No.
So it's not like an actual therapist where if you've hurt someone else or yourself, then you have to report this. Okay.
No. Now, if you go to a pastor or priest and you say, I'm going to kill this person.
Right.
Or I'm going to kill myself, then they will because it hasn't happened. So they can stop it.
That makes sense. Okay.
So then they would have to call the authorities, but not if it's already been done.
Okay.
If you're going for confession.
Right. Okay. That makes more sense because I was like, he looks really horrified.
Right.
Like, can't he do something?
I was wondering that too, because I'm like, okay, like I know that he has like, so he knows Rick, he knows what he's been through with his mom and everything. So I'm like, oh, is he just, kind of protecting him? But I'm like, yeah, does he have to say something? Because this guy just confessed to like a murder.
A brutal murder too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good to know.
There you go. Okay. So he returns from that. He takes a little joyride. He enjoys the good life a little bit more as well. And that's when Tanya, his ex-girlfriend, calls and is like, oh my gosh, Jeremy's in trouble. Your friend who like I'm kind of seeing now, but like I need you to help me out with this because I can't find him and he's in trouble. Meanwhile, Rick, who is pretty inebriated, I feel like at this point, is he not? He's been drinking the whiskey. He is. Yeah. And he sees another ghosty thing. And I thought this guy was cool because he was like, he had this like metal, like face, like thing on his face. And again, very 13 Ghosts. That was what I was thinking too. And he sees somebody else too. So he's seeing like a wide array of Cine ghost victims now.
Yes. It's more than one ghost haunting him now, which is interesting. So he's like, great, what else did he do now?
Yeah, where it's like, gosh, this old guy was really busy. And that's when we learn that Drayton was a sin eater himself. Okay.
So and this is like a long line of sin eaters, like all the way back to we don't even know how far back, basically.
Yeah. So Rick has like double sins there. He's got Drayton sins plus all of the other sins that Drayton ate as a sin eater. So that's, definitely not good. And he learns about how these ghosts and these ghosts of these sinful crimes and stuff basically drove Drayton insane, drove him to suicide. That's what happened to Drayton. And his lady, Antoinette, is just like, you know what? I say enjoy it while you can, man. Enjoy the wealth while you can. Because either way, when you die, it's going to be pretty bad. And when you're alive, it's going to be pretty bad. So not really a lot of good options for Rick there.
Yeah. You have two choices, basically.
Yeah. They don't really tell you about the fine print, I guess. Although reading the words out loud could have given you a pretty good indication. Because I think the words are like, I pawn my soul or something. For your peace, I take your sins and I pawn my soul.
Wouldn't it be funny, though, if Rick... It's a little naive to think that on Drayton's part that Rick has no sins. And, and he got off scot-free. Like, he stole money from the dude. Like, what else has this guy done? That's where I'm just like...
Rick has his own sins. He's just taking on his, and so whoever becomes a sin eater for him is going to take on his sins, Drayton's sins, and all the other sins.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think he cares that he could have been Charles Manson as long as he was down on his luck and he could convince him to eat off him. So
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Really, he just needed somebody who was willing to eat all that food off of his dead body.
He just needed an idiot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Desperation will do a lot of crazy things to people.
It certainly will.
Hi, everybody. Just wanted to thank all of you guys for listening and supporting the podcast. If you haven't already, please follow us, like us, leave us a review. Little things like this can really help the podcast out so much. Also, if you want to hear your name mentioned in our episodes at the beginning and receive fun little goodies from the entire Bloody Essentials team, you can join our Patreon. It's 100% like no commitment. All the proceeds go back into the podcast. It helps us upgrade our recording equipment, our editing software, all those good things. And it also helps pay for our travel expenses with our upcoming appearances. So that can add up really fast, but we're looking to hopefully expand to other conventions and, going to other states to see spooky attractions. So funds like that will help significantly. Also, I don't know if you guys know, but before we can actually start receiving funds through YouTube and things like that, as horror creators, we need at least 500 followers on YouTube. So if you aren't already following us, but you listen to us and you really like our content, please like us, subscribe. It really helps out so much, and it allows us to keep doing what we're doing. So we love bringing horror to you each week, whether it's content creators, our thoughts on a film. So we really want to keep doing this for as long as possible. And money is unfortunately a big way to stay on top of that. So like I said, all of your support really means a lot, and you get fun little goodies from all of us. We got Bloody Essentials merch. We got horror goodies that we've been saving for you guys, whether it's stickers, horror collectibles, I'm talking like shirts from your favorite horror companies, Fright Rags, all those good places. And then, of course, we've got some NECA figures and all those kinds of things. So if you want to receive fun horror goodies from your Bloody Essentials crew, join our Patreon. It's going to be a really good time. We also have a Discord channel and unedited episodes before they air. So that's always exciting. And we're hoping to be doing movie parties really soon. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, just thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll get back to the show now.
Okay. So, we go back. So Rick, he's going through stuff. There's the ghost, a ghost kind of attacks him almost. He's on top of him and stuff. And Rick dies for a minute. Okay. They bring him back, and it's oh, I died for a minute. Wait, idea. Brain session here. Is there something we can do with that? Can I die temporarily, have somebody take on my sins and eat my sins, and then I get brought back so that I'm good to go and somebody else has my sins? And his lady is like, let's do it. I think that could work. So they, she's like, Jeremy would be the perfect person for you to transfer this into. And he's like, ooh, geez, I don't really know about that. He's kind of my friend, and I don't know about that. And she's like, I don't know. He kind of seems like the perfect fit for that.
Yeah.
Was he kind of your friend when he was banging your old lady? Oops.
Also, she mentions that because this guy's a war veteran, he's used to carrying very heavy things, so he could probably handle it better than Rick can. I'm like, yeah. Yes, but at what cost?
Exactly.
He already has a lot on his plate.
Exactly. Okay. And, thankfully Jeremy happens to call up and be like, I'm in a lot of trouble. And can you give me some money? Cause I'm in trouble. And he's like, sure. And so he gets some money. He heads over to the apartment. He's seeing his ghost sin people. He's kind of out of it. There's a lot going on for Rick and his mental state. He sees a ghostie. He kills it, shoots it, and it turns out to be his ex-girlfriend, Tanya. So, bam, the sin just keeps on sinning.
I don't really believe in karma, but
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So that happens, and Rick's guy, his like chauffeur person, like gets him and is like, okay, gotta take care of this and everything. And so Rick and Jeremy talk on the phone. Jeremy tells Rick, the girlfriend's dead and everything, and it's like, come on over here for no weirdness at all.
Everything's going to be fine. It's not going to be weird here at all, I promise you.
Promise.
Did you eat today yet? Because I'm hoping you have an appetite. But it's not weird. I swear it's not weird. Just come on over to this house I've been living at. So Jeremy shows up, our girl lays out the whole plan for him, the contract, explains everything. He's like, I don't know about this. This is weird, but yep, let's do it.
I really enjoyed this scene because it's one of the few times where you don't see Rick communicating with Jeremy at all.
Right.
And it's just Antoinette like laying all of this out, just like we saw at the very beginning. And it's like, he's just so, I guess, overwhelmed, traumatized that he just can't bring himself to, make this offer himself.
Yeah. It's too like difficult for him.
Yeah.
So, they put him under or whatever. He dies for a little bit. He goes into this kind of weird limbo place, he sees his mom there. He sees the other dead people. He sees dead Tanya there. The ghosts kind of grab him and everything. And then he's out. And Jeremy did the sin-eating thing. The meal is over. Everything seems like it's all good, Rick is kind of going back to his normal life. We see him just kind of returning to normal life. Jeremy, on the other hand, is starting to see the ghosties and everything. And then we come to the end, and Rick is sitting there, and Tanya's by his side because that is his sin that he has to live with there and carry.
And that's the end of the movie.
It's the curse of the sin in here.
All right. Ethan, you want to give us some fun facts?
All right. There really was not a lot of fun facts on this movie. So
that's sad.
No, it really is. All right. The concept of a sin eater comes from a ritual in the 17th century in England and in Wales.
Wow.
Of course, it's Wales.
Right not, right? In this ritual, a poor person is hired to eat a loaf of bread placed on a dead person to take away their sins.
Okay.
So it's not a full meal. It's just a loaf of bread, apparently.
I could do a loaf of bread.
I was going to say, I could do
I love bread.
Right? I could do bread.
But is there a plate that's on the body and then the bread, or is it just bread
right
on the body?
I believe that the bread is on the body.
If it's just a loaf of bread, I could do it, especially depending on the variety of bread. If it's rye, I'm down.
That's fair.
Now,
can I dip it?
The sin eater would take a plate of salt and put it on the dead person's breast and mutter an incantation over the bread and then sprinkle the salt on the bread and eat it.
There we go. So, that incantation seals the deal.
Now, you'd say, why the hell would somebody do this? The family would hire the sin eater to come and do this ritual over their deceased loved one to spare the deceased loved one's discomfort of going to purgatory. So
it wasn't for hell, it was more for purgatory?
According to this lore, it was for purgatory. Now, I'm not Catholic, so I don't really know how all of that works. I don't believe in purgatory, so
right.
But if I'm not mistaken, purgatory is like the place you go before you go to heaven or hell, and you can they can buy you out of it, pray you out of it. I don't know how that works because, like I said, I don't. They
usually believe you can get stuck in purgatory if you kill yourself or stuff like that. Like if you kill yourself, then you don't go to heaven or hell. You're just stuck.
Yeah, you're in limbo, kind of.
Yeah, because you committed a atrocity against nature type thing. So
okay, well,
I don't know about anything else, but that's the one thing I do know about purgatory. Greek mythology, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sure. that's really all of the fun facts that we have on this. There literally
So that was an actual ritual that people performed?
Oh yeah, no. That this was an actual ritual that people did.
Interesting.
So,
Wow.
Very interesting.
I had a feeling it was rooted in like a real thing,
did
or
I.
like a described thing, something that has been described in text before. And I'm like, that's probably
Sure.
pretty old. I'm gonna
Yeah.
guess that's like an old thing.
Was there a year or anything like that, like dating back to such and such century or anything like that?
The 17th century.
Wow, so not
Wow.
that long ago, really. That
Right.
was the 1800s.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, those are
So
fun facts.
cool. So let's get into rating this movie. Jamie, do you want to start?
Sure. Okay. So this one I went in, I'd never heard of this one before, never heard of it. It struck me as maybe a little bit more indie, right? But I thought it was like, I thought for an indie film, it was very like, and indie films are great, but like I thought it was like really nice quality. Like the sound was great, like film quality was really nice. It had some pretty like scenes, like how it was shot, I thought was pretty cool. I thought this was definitely a different concept. I haven't really seen anything like this before. I like stuff that I like movies that have rituals in them. And so that aspect was cool. The idea of, you know, eating a meal off a dead body, I did kind of like that because I'm like, oh, that's creepy. And I'm really into the kind of, I call it like the monkey's paw effect, you know, where it's like that careful what you wish for, like everything comes with a consequence. So I really liked that part of it. All that being said, you know, I'm gonna put it just kind of in the middle for me. I'm gonna give it like a 6, like a 5.5 or a 6, somewhere
Okay.
kind of right in the middle. It's not something I typically would watch, I guess. I'm glad I did. Again, interesting story. Thought the cast did a good job, thought the actors did a good job. And I will say the actual like feast scene did get to me a little bit, and not a lot of stuff makes my stomach churn. So, but food and retching about lots of food, that definitely gets me like every time. And that scene was long, so that got me. And I liked the lady too, like Antoinette or whatever. She was kind of cool.
That reminds me, oh my God. Yeah. She was probably my favorite part of the whole movie, especially the end where you just see her sitting at the table and just like looking at the list of the names it just, I want to know more about her.
I know she was very cool. Like, you know, Rick, I could have empathized with him a little bit more, I guess. Like, he didn't like super speak to me a little bit. I mean, I understood he's down on his luck. That's rough, you know, whatever, his ex-girlfriend and everything. But
yeah,
I cared more about her, definitely. And I like her whole thing because she was like, you know, hey, this is my job. It's like what I have. And this means a lot to me. Because he's like, at one point he asked, do you want to eat the sins? And she's like, no.
And she also says like, even if I wanted to, I can't. I'm not allowed. So
exactly.
It's like,
breach a contract.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, just in the middle. I mean, I'm glad I watched it. It's very different. So yeah, I thought it was like pretty well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. Excuse me. I think it was very well acted, very well shot. You know, sometimes indie films are not the best quality, and that's just because of like budget constraints and stuff. It's nothing personal against them. This isn't something that I normally would watch. That being said, the story kept me interested the entire time. There were a few moments where I was like, like, would that actually work? Like, but that's just me being over analytic. And, you know, I was like, shut up, it's a movie. So yeah, I had to do that. So overall, like, would I recommend it? Maybe if you're looking for something a little bit different, but I'm not going to go out of my way to be like, oh my God, you have to see this. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. So with that being said, I'm probably going to give it like a 5. There's some very interesting characters. There's lots of interesting character development, but overall, it's just, I think it's kind of forgettable.
Okay.
Ethan?
Okay. Well, obviously this was a first watch for me as well. I thought the acting was very good. It was shot very well. I, on the other hand, really did like Rick.
Yeah.
I really resonated with him.
I did too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed him. I did enjoy Antoinette as well.
Yeah.
She was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I was talking through the whole movie too, and I was like, "Oh no, you could fix that. You could do that. You could do." And then I was like, "All right, just shut up and watch the movie." Not something I would normally watch. I mean, it's not my gory slasher flick that I so love, but I really did enjoy it. Thanks, Jeremy, for recommending it.
Yeah.
I would have to say that I would give this one a little higher than you guys.
Wow.
And I would give it a 7.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
I did enjoy it. It was not what I normally like. You know what I mean? But the story was great. It did keep my interest. I would give it a 7. I would tell people if you're a horror freak like us, not maybe not the mainstream people.
Sure.
But it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, it's going to be one that you watch every month. I mean,
no.
But it's definitely worth a watch. It was very entertaining.
Yeah. I think it'll linger with you for a couple of days after watching for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I will say, I don't know. I think it would be really cool as like a series, where so like each episode, like, he's maybe dealing with a different sin,
That's very cool.
Or a different person entirely. That would be very interesting.
Yeah. But I almost see it as like if it were a series in that format, I don't know. I think that would be a cool way to explore it.
Or maybe just a mini series. Like I think that would be very fascinating. Yeah, I think I would probably enjoy that a little bit more because I wanted to know more, and we just scratched the surface. And I think
like how they did the Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah.
If they did 8 or 10 of them and you could get those, that would be
that would have been much better, and we could know the full extent of how far this dates back, or at least get an idea. But I think that the lore of it is more interesting than the story itself, in my opinion. So
and I wanted to know more of the lore and kind of like the 13 Ghost, aspect of it.
Exactly.
It's I wanted to know a little bit more about those characters, like the guy with the face mask thing, the metal. I'm like, whoa, what was that? What was the sin there? What happened there?
And how do you keep your staff so well under control? It's a large staff. It's very I don't know how they are able to do that without having something on them or I want to know more.
Right.
Because Antoinette clearly loves her job. So it's why?
Yeah.
And I can see how some religious people would have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Obviously the whole ritual, I mean, I could see that, but I had to I don't want to say press pause on my faith button because I was like, the movie would be over because I could just.
Well, I knew that was going to be a big thing because that came to my brain too. But how I reasoned with that was he was clearly raised Catholic. He's not going to just switch to another faith and be like, oh, there's a loophole.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, if you're Catholic, I mean, there may be things in there I don't know how if it was anti-Catholic because I'm not Catholic.
Right.
You know what I mean? I could have eaten the whole thing and then been like, all right, I got these demons. I'm going to go to church and get baptized. Boom.
Yeah. That was a thought I had too.
Because baptism washes away your sins. There you go.
I was gonna say, I mean, he got the first murder absolved pretty easily. I'm like, well,
just go do it.
I don't know how it would work because I'm not very well versed in Catholicism either.
Same.
But I do know that when you get baptized in the Catholic faith, from what I remember anyways, is that wipes away all the sins up until that point. So it's why didn't you just get rebaptized?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, your generational sins have been washed away when you get baptized. But I believe, obviously, you repent and then you get baptized, and the baptism is for the washing away of your sins. Sure. All of your sins, all of your other sins, and they're gone. So I'm like, all right, I got all these sins. I'm going to go jump in this baptismal. throw myself under in Jesus' name and come back up and we'll be good. So
and then it's like, then I got as many cars as I want. I got a mansion. And it's like, and all I had to do was eat that nasty food off of that old dead man's body.
So I was thinking that during the movie, and I was like, well, that's the best loophole there is, because that's true. And then I was like, okay, this is a movie. And if they stopped it at that movie, like if he went and got baptized and was like, all right, it's done, I would have been pissed.
That's valid, yeah.
I would have been like, no, I need to know more. So
yeah,
for sure. There's probably something in the chant that's like, no, you can't just wash it away. You have to confess each individual sin type thing. So
I'm sure it's in the contract, laid out pretty specifically. It was a full page contract, like maybe even several pages. So I'm sure they get into it. But I want to know, put it in a series, a mini series, then we could really see what that contract includes.
That would have been fascinating. Yeah. Show these riches being shared throughout the centuries. Like that would have been so cool.
I'm telling you, a series.
If they ever did that, we'd have to do a show on each one. And pick it apart.
Oh,
I already want to do that for some other horror series, so maybe later this year.
Me
we'll
too. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. All right, guys. That has been Curse of the Sin Eater. Let us know what you thought if this was a first time watch, if you've seen this before. We want to know if you agree with any of us or disagree with all of us, and let us know why, because this is a very interesting movie, and I think it's going to be very divisive in how you react and respond to the movie as a whole. So
definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, just remember, guys, if you ever find yourself being offered, to eat this food off a dead body, don't do it. And also don't have sex.
Don't do drugs unless you're trying to die temporarily, but like not all the way, so you can transfer the sins. It's a whole thing.
And certainly don't die. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.